Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Uh-oh, is this a scary headline from the Daily Hodl? This one reads, this bank says it's ditching SWIFT using crypto stablecoin to power cross-border transfers. Not using XRP, but using a cryptocurrency to power cross-border transfers. Sidestepping SWIFT? What is going on here? Well, I'm going to tell you all of the specifics and give you some of my personal opinion on all this. But before we go any further, if you would please delicately tap that like button, I would definitely appreciate it. But do not smash it. Cool kids, do not smash the like button. You don't need to show force, just a delicate tap will do. And also go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel because it's free, so why the hell not? I mean, the price is right? I mean, come on. There's no reason not to. You can always unsubscribe later if you decide you hate me even more than you hate me this very second. So it's okay. Okay, I'm not asking you to marry me. All right, so let's dive in here. A European bank is saying goodbye to the legacy payment messaging system SWIFT and will now use the stablecoin USDC to power cross-border transactions. Right there, I want to say that's probably a little bit too far because unless this bank is only going to conduct business in certain corridors, this coin is not everywhere it would need to be on the planet to have the option to facilitate remittances the world over. So that's probably a bit too far unless the scope of their remittances is so narrow that they're only going to conduct business where the USDC can be used. There's no public information that I could easily find anyway. Bank Frick, founded in 1998, is one of the most crypto-friendly in Liechtenstein, offering custody and trading for Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and 7 other digital assets. So as far as why they're not just utilizing on-demand liquidity, I don't know, but I can tell you why this is not going to be a global solution here. I'm going to give you a number of reasons for that, but let's go a little bit further first. Now, the bank says it's fully switched to USDC and will use the stablecoin to move money across borders on behalf of its clients. And here's a quote. With the addition of USDC, we enable our customers to process USD payments quickly and token-based. Compared to the classic SWIFT procedure, the processing time is significantly reduced. Oh, yes. The magical powers that come along with cryptocurrencies. Fair enough. Certainly faster. Coinbase and Circle launched USDC in late 2018. The coin is designed to be pegged to the US dollar, which gives banks an opportunity to capitalize on both the transfer speed of digital assets and the reliability of USD. But that still doesn't paint the whole picture, because if you're holding the stable coin, understand that it is a centralized coin, and so you'd have to have trust for the entity that's holding it. Now, if you're a bank, because look, think about this. How is it that banks have confidence to transfer money in the legacy financial system? Nostro Vostro accounts, right? And so what would effectively be happening here, and this bank's fine with it, but they're very crypto-centric, the vast majority of banks the world over are not. But the way I understand it, having read through this actual call it a press release, perhaps. It's on the Bank Frick's website here. My understanding is that they're actually holding USDC themselves. Now, typically with Nostro Vostro accounts, if you're making a relationship up with another bank, you hold some of their money and they hold some of your money, and then that creates the trust necessary. And in developing those relationships, I've heard that it normally takes somewhere between 8 to 12 months when you're first developing that type of banking relationship, just to get it set up and running in the first place. And so if you're a very forward-thinking bank here and you're willing to take on more risks than almost any other bank on the entire planet, you could hold a stable coin, you could hold your own cryptocurrencies. And I don't know that they're doing this. I mean, they're doing custody for customers. But beyond that, my understanding is they're actually holding this USD coin themselves in their possession. And that definitely means risk. It also, though, is not a global solution. And this goes back to this, and I'm going to circle back to this, don't worry. But I want to highlight just part of this piece, which I bring up from time to time, written by Brad Garlinghouse almost 4 years ago, because it's just as relevant today as it was 4 years ago, and it will be just as relevant 4 years from now, another 4 years, when people are still asking, why can't we just use stable coins instead of XRP? And frankly, it comes down to this. And he was talking about initially, the way he started out this piece is that there are all sorts of banks creating coins. And I want to be clear here, when we're talking about a bank coin, when we're talking about a central bank digital currency, when we're talking about a stable coin, they all have the same shortcoming. Because they're centralized, it doesn't solve the problem of trust. However great the underlying technology is, however fast it is, it doesn't matter. If it's not a decentralized cryptocurrency with an open market value, it cannot do what XRP can do. And so he goes on to cite that there are other banks going that particular route, and then he writes the following. While this development signals a significant market traction for an institutional use of digital assets, I have to say it's deeply misguided. A bank-issued digital asset can only really efficiently settle between the banks who issued it. Then two scenarios can play out. Scenario 1. All banks around the world put aside competitive and geopolitical differences, adopt the same digital asset, agree on its rules, and harmoniously govern its usage. Fat chance. And again, this applies whether it's a stable coin or in this case he was writing about a bank coin. It's the same thing. How are you all going to agree on the same stable coin? Who's going to implement the software to make this all work? So let me read this scenario 2, and then I'm going to jump back. Scenario 2, the more likely scenario, banks not in the issuing group issue their own digital assets with their own sets of rules and governance. Exactly. And he cites that even in 2016, they were already seeing the beginning phases of this here. Right? And so if you're going to utilize this cryptocurrency, there's also, and I read this thing here, I mean, I read it kind of quickly, but there's no indication that there's some sort of automated software that would be equivalent to RippleNet and on-demand liquidity, which just automatically facilitates these transactions. There's no indication that's the case. Maybe it is, in which case they just haven't publicly announced that. It also could be the case that they're using the stablecoin and manually applying this, which also would be certainly slower here. So again, that's not going to be as good, because look, you're not, first of all, it's not a global solution if you don't have software that's going to be spread throughout the world. And it's on top of that, like, how are you going to get them to use just one coin? Because, and you know what the answer is, if it's decentralized with an open market value, people will go where there's the least friction, where trust isn't an issue, where cost, where the price of transaction isn't an issue. Like, people would naturally flow to that. So that's why the transactions, even if they're faster with this coin, and even if they're less expensive than utilizing SWIFT for the instances they're applying it, that's fine, but it's still not a global solution if you're not removing the issue of trust. And how do you remove the issue of trust? Well, think about it. If it's a bank coin or it's a stable coin, whatever it may be, if you're going to have something that's centralized, you better hope that the central authority isn't going to run away with your money. And unless you're going to have a situation where you're basically recreating the Nostra Vostra accounts, but with cryptocurrencies, you can't do it. And so then, even if it's a little bit faster and a little less costly, fine, admittedly, that can be the case. And you can get some walled gardens, and I suspect we'll see some smaller walled gardens that maybe have some staying power for some period of time, maybe a long time, I don't know. But that won't be the case for most, because I suspect that most banks won't be issuing their own coins. Most banks are smaller banks, and there are some mid-sized banks as well. They're not all going to be creating their own coins here. I could see the larger entities that want to try and retain their power doing this, the largest banks. Those are the ones that I suspect would be most likely to do this, because they're already making money off their smaller competitors, and if they're potentially going to lose that, and then they maybe want to create their own bank coin to retain some of that control. But ultimately, the smaller competitors, they're not going to need those larger banks' Nostra accounts anymore. They don't need to tap into that dormant capital anymore. And so, again, just to be super duper clear, this is absolutely not a solution by any stretch of the imagination, not on a global scale. So I don't have any problem with them doing this. If it's better than SWIFT for their particular use, that's fine. That's still forward progress in some sense. But if you really want to engage in a global solution, you absolutely have to have a decentralized cryptocurrency with an open market value, which a stablecoin is not and never will be. It absolutely is not. And good luck. So good luck. You can try all you want here, but that's the key piece that people keep missing when you have these Bitcoin maxis that just haven't educated themselves. And you hear them and they sound like this: I'm a Bitcoin maxi, I live under a bed. And that's exactly what they sound like. And they haven't done research to understand. So those are the types of people that I typically see spouting off the concept of, oh, you can just use Tether, you can just use a stable coin, and they simply don't get it. Who's going to implement it? Why would banks have trust? I mean, those are two of the key issues right there. And it doesn't fundamentally make any damn sense. It just doesn't. They need to do more research if they're going to get down to it. So again, there can be some walled gardens and some will have success. To what degree this type of remittance will have staying power, who knows? A little bit. But I was fully expecting. I've always been expecting stuff like this, but it's not. Again, like I said many times in this video, it's not a global solution, and this is not something that will impede the way that Ripple is going to market. So just wanted to share that, lest any of you be concerned, seeing that this particular bank, forward-thinking as they may be, this is not something that is going to be some sort of notable problem for Ripple. It's basically it's similar because, again, it doesn't solve the trust issue. It's conceptually somewhat similar to the problem that you still have with Nostra Vostra accounts, but you bring that problem into this the world of crypto. You're basically recreating the same problem. That's exactly what Brad Garlinghouse was talking about in this piece that he wrote on October 24th, 2016, titled "The Case Against Bankcoin," and I cited just a little bit of it there for you. So there you go. You can tell me what you think below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think I missed anything? Drop a comment. I do like to hear from you. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!